Welcome to the second chapter of The Hidden Path to Empowerment. It's Maureen here. Welcome. It's so lovely to have you with me today. And the topic that we're exploring today is the chakra system. Why this approach and template? One of the things that I love most about the chakra system, and in fact am in awe of, is the fact that it provides such a broad and deep perspective from which to understand ourself and our potential. You see, each of the chakras represents a dimension of our being, and when we work with the chakras, they provide incredibly precise guides to how we uniquely function as individuals and the parts of us that are calling for attention. You see, the chakra system is in fact the template of our soul's evolution. The theory of the chakras and the philosophy and the framework come from ancient India. And this framework is connected to and deeply entwined with the philosophy and practice of yoga. It's estimated that this model is perhaps as old as 25,000 years old. And the chakra systems, that these energy points that run along the spine, are considered to be wheels of energy that regulate the flow of energy within our bodies. And each of the chakras represents a precious piece of the puzzle of human consciousness. And they control our physical well-being, our mental clarity, and our emotional stability. They are a direct reflection of our spiritual state, and they mirror how we feel about ourselves and life in general. They give us this system from which to understand ourselves. In fact, they are in essence a master map of our energy system. And the more I work with this system, the more I've come to understand and realize how elegantly and profound a system it is. It really provides us with a pathway and a philosophy of wholeness. You see, the thing about the chakras is that they provide us with an understanding of the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual dimensions of our being. And it's from this breadth of understanding that we can bring the whole of ourselves to our lives by understanding each of these dimensions and working with the parts of us that are calling for attention. And it's hard in a way to take all of this in. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. I know before I started working with the chakras, when I look back, I realize there's so many dimensions of myself that I was simply not conscious of. And I wasn't someone looking at this from a naive, untrained perspective. I'm someone who spent over 20 years working with people on their development, over 30 years studying and learning about human development, about human growth. And so it's really, it's an incredible system to work with, incredibly powerful. And the more we can work with the whole of who we are, the more we can have fulfilling and satisfying lives. So let's look at these dimensions in a little bit more detail, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions of the chakra system, and of course ourselves, and see what we're pulling together and weaving together when we work with this system. Okay, so at a physical level, the chakras filter energy through the physical body and stimulate the hormonal flow, which this is in effect the biochemistry of the body, and it's linked to the rate our bodies use energy. So in effect, our bodies are energetic maps, and our bodies act as mirrors for our higher minds, showing us where there are imbalances. And when we can work in partnership with our bodies, we can really start to understand what's going on at a deeper level for ourselves. So at an emotional level, our emotions have a profound effect on our health and our well-being and our capacity to heal, on the sense of aliveness that we experience and the amount of connection that we feel both to ourselves and to others. So being conscious of our feelings really gives us access to a greater sense of aliveness when we can work with them and manage them. And this, of course, comes with practice and maturity. Although whether or not we're conscious of our feelings and are able to allow space for them, they impact our energy levels. All too often, we suppress our feelings and we lock them in our unconscious, where they become congested, and they congest our energy flow. So having appropriate ways to allow feelings room in our lives is really important. Because if we swallow our anger, hide our fears, and pretend that everything is fine in our lives, then we're cutting ourselves off from that full sense of aliveness. So it's incredibly important to allow space for our emotions in our lives and to tell the truth about our feelings. And in the process of this, we learn about ourselves. So let's look at the next level that the chakras really give us insight into, and this is the mental level. So the ideas and attitudes that we have reflect the way we were raised, our religious upbringing, our schooling, the communities and the cultures that we were born into. This impacts the ideas and attitudes that we consider are right. And from all of this, we accumulate many beliefs and attitudes. Some work for us and support us, but many of them are self-limiting. And they're based on what we've been taught and what others have perceived was right and true. And often this comes back from what they themselves have been indoctrinated with. So it's really important over time to look honestly at the ideas and beliefs we hold and really notice their impact on us. Are they contributing to our health, to our joy, to our well-being? You see, in relation to all of this, most of us have been raised and taught to be outer directed. So it's our families, our religions, our culture, our communities that in fact determine our ideas and our attitudes. And so how we think, how we judge ourselves and our worth are determined externally. And this is critical to look at because it's the way we think and how we think and the attitudes and beliefs that we hold that ultimately determine our destiny. So it's really, really it's important to look at these attitudes and do they work for us? Do they support our health, our well-being, our sense of aliveness? And slowly over time move them from being outer directed to being inner directed, so that it's us, ourselves, that determines our own worth and goodness. And when we can do this, we're able to experience ourselves as being enough. So let's now look at the spiritual level. The chakras open us up to the all-pervading consciousness of truth, love, and wisdom. And this is what gives our lives purpose and teaches us to honor our own inner guidance for living. The chakras really encourage us to look within and ask, what is it that we think the purpose of this situation is? And to ask ourselves, what are we learning about ourselves in the face of these difficulties? They help us to put any negativity that we may be experiencing into a broader perspective and to see beyond our self-interest in that particular moment in time. And you see, when we can trust our feelings and are able to perceive the truth in any situation, then we can start to have confidence in our own ability to make the adjustments that we need to make for the benefit of ourselves, our health, our well-being, and ultimately our lives. So over time, this enables us to expand our energy field in accordance with our attitudes. You see, energy flows through us like a river following a course. And when we can identify the blocks in the river and move them out of the way, then that energy that will flow seamlessly. And so working with the chakras is this process of looking within and aligning with our higher purpose. Because ultimately, how smoothly our chakras function determines how comfortable we feel in our physical bodies, how successful our relationships are, and how much inner peace we can enjoy. So ideally, our chakras will be nourished, vital, well-balanced, and awoken. So the chakras are also called the ladder of liberation, and it's this process of working on this upward journey from the base chakra to the crown chakra. It's working and following this path that allows us to break free from any limitations that have held us back, that hold us back from spiritual realization, and enable us to transform our life force energy. And the chakras are also called, or also known, as the rainbow bridge. And it's this bridge that enables us to move from operating on purely a personal will basis, where our emotions can run the show, to operating from the higher self and intuition. So it's this process, crossing this bridge of allowing us to access heightened awareness of life and increasing our sense of being connected to the whole. So it is ultimately about this, about bringing the whole of your being alive. So thank you for joining me today, where we have looked at the overarching chakra system and what it will provide us when we work with it. The ability to work with our own being, our own selves at a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level at each of these various dimensions of our being that are represented by the chakras. I hope you have found this insightful. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.